Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about elements and modalities in astrology. I got this request from one of my subscribers, I believe. It was on a comment on one of my videos, and they wanted me to talk about the elements in astrology as well as the modalities because I feel like both of these are connected in astrology, and so I want to talk about both and how it impacts your birth chart as a whole and how it influences your personality as well. Before I get started, welcome to my channel, Venusianscorp Astrology and Tarot. If you're new here, I post videos on astrology, tarot, and I do weekly readings and monthly readings as well. If you're interested in booking a reading with me, you can definitely drop me a message on Facebook or email. Both the links are in the description box below. So let's get started. So when we talk about elements in astrology, we have four main elements. These are earth, fire, water, and air. And each of the elements comprises three different signs. So we have three earth signs, we have three water signs, three fire signs, three air signs. When we talk about modalities, we have three different modalities. One is fixed, one is mutable, and one is cardinal. When we talk about fixed modality, we are talking about the fixed signs. Basically, this is something where they have a tendency to be very tenacious, have a very strong willpower, as well as, the flip side can be about stubbornness as well. Mutable modality will have the qualities of being very adaptable, very flexible, being able to see other people's perspectives. But again, the flip side can be they can be a little bit wishy-washy, or what we often call flaky. The cardinal modality, that would be a quality of being the initiator, um, and wanting to get things started, not wanting to just sit around. But the flip side can be impatience, and also wanting their way or the highway. That kind of an attitude can sometimes surface. So let's talk about it. So let's talk about the elements first, actually. So let's talk about the earth signs, right? So we have three earth signs. We have Taurus, which is the first earth sign, then we have Virgo, then we have Capricorn. Now, when we look at earth signs as a whole, um, generally, earth signs are known to be pretty solid in nature. They're quite immovable. They are very practical. They're all about mostly the material realm. They can be quite predictable. They are fairly trustworthy. And sometimes they can use coldness as a weapon, or rather indifference as a weapon. Now let's talk about the water signs. So again, we have three water signs. We have Cancer, which is the first water sign, then we have Scorpio, and then we have Pisces. Now water signs are characterized by being fluid, of course. The element is water, so it has to be fluid. It's very feeling based, it's emotional in nature. And the flip side or the shadow side can be using emotions as their source of strength or destruction. So that's one of the ways it can manifest as well. Now, when we talk about the fire signs, again, we have three fire signs. The first sign is Aries, the second is Leo, and the third is Sagittarius. So, the fire element, it's ruled by the sun. It's fiery energy. It brings light. The flip side can be using anger as destruction. That is one of the destructive ways in which this element can manifest. Now let's talk about the air signs. Again, we have three air signs. So the first one is Gemini, second one is Libra, and the last one is Aquarius. So the element air is characterized by being very flowy, light. The flip side of this, or the shadow side, can manifest as being very self-absorbed, almost coldness, and also using words as a weapon. That's another way in which this element can manifest. Um, so let's talk about how these two intersect, or how these two mingle in a birth chart and basically shape the person's personality. Now, again, before I go ahead with the rest of the video, I do want to say that, as always, like I say in all my videos, it depends on the whole birth chart. It's not just one particular element or one modality that's going to define your nature, your characteristic. It's going to depend on your planets in your birth chart, your moon sign, your Venus, Mars aspects as well, because that plays a huge role in how your birth chart basically shows up and manifests your personality. But this is just the elements and modalities in this video, so that's what I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about um, each of the signs, right? So we have Aries, which is a fire sign. It's the first fire sign of the zodiac, and it's a cardinal sign. So we have fire as the element, and we have the modality as being cardinal. So fire element and cardinal modality. So it's often known that Aries is often called the fire starter, or somebody who wants to just get things off the ground. Also because it's ruled by Mars, they have a tendency to be a bit impatient. They don't like to sit around and wait for things to happen, and that is a quality shared by all the cardinal signs. They don't want to keep waiting. They like to initiate things. That's why it's called a cardinal modality. um, when it comes to Aries, we are combining the radiance of light, which is the fire element, along with the cardinal modality, which is about initiating something. So these can be fire starters. These can be people who are trailblazers almost. They like to carve their own territory. If no one has done it before, they can be the very first ones to do it. And that's something that all the cardinal signs share, this quality where they can be trailblazers. They do like to initiate something, and if it's something that nobody has done before, then they will be the ones to actually do it because they don't want to waste time. That's a little bit about Aries. And when we talk about the second cardinal modality, which is, so I'm going to go through this by modalities first, and then cover the elements along with that. So we're talking about the cardinal modality. So the second sign that has this is Cancer, which is a water sign. And here we are talking about the element of water with the modality of being cardinal. And also Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it's very nurturing, it's very emotional, it's very mothering, nurturing, soothing, all of that good stuff. But then we also have the cardinal energy here, the modality here, which is again, if we look at tarot, the card for Cancer is the Chariot, and that very much symbolizes the cardinal nature of Cancer. Like, people often like to talk about Cancer as being mushy and emotional and all of that, which is true. Cancer does share these traits, but make no mistake, it is a cardinal sign at the end of the day, and they very much share a lot of similarities with their sister sign Capricorn. So when they need to get things done, they can very much be like the boss energy, CEO energy. Let's do this, let's get things off the ground, that kind of energy. So Cancer, again, it's one of those signs that will not wait around. If you can't do the job, they're going to step in and do it. That's one of the ways this can manifest. It's very take charge kind of energy, and you would have seen that in Cancerians. Like, they do have their sides of being very emotional and very soft and very nurturing and all of that, but then when push comes to shove, they will take the reins of the chariot, so to speak, and they will initiate things and get things done. Now let's talk about the next sign, which is also cardinal, which is Libra, and that is it's an air sign. So we're talking about the element of air along with the modality of being cardinal. And this is kind of interesting because when we look at Libra as an air sign, it's ruled by Venus, but it's masculine energy because it's an air sign. Air and fire are masculine, and water and earth are feminine energies. So when we look at Libra, it's ruled by Venus, but it's a masculine sign, and it also has the cardinal modality, and it's ruled by Venus. So there's a bit of a contradiction here in the sense that Libra wants to get along because it's ruled by Venus, so it likes pleasantries, it's diplomatic. They like to see all the sides of the equation before they actually make a decision. But then it's also cardinal energy, which is interesting because Libra is often known to be a little bit indecisive sometimes. They can be a bit of a fence sitter, not wanting to make a decision, leaving it up to other people. That can be the shadow side. But at the end of the day, Libra is a cardinal sign. So they will eventually take charge and make things happen, which is why Libra or Libra ruled people do very well in professions like law and, being an attorney or the legal system, because this kind of a profession requires you to be diplomatic and yet being able to use your words effectively to convince other people or persuade other people about your point of view. So they do very well in these kind of professions, and because it's a cardinal sign, um, they will get the job done. you know um, so even though they can be a little bit indecisive at the beginning, once they decide to do something, there's really no stopping them. So that's one of the ways in which this energy manifests. Now let's talk about the next sign, which is Capricorn, which is an earth sign, and it's also cardinal in its modality. So we are mixing the element of earth along with the modality of being cardinal. And see, the thing with Capricorn is it's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is about delays, restrictions, discipline, a lot of rules and regulations. There's a lot of rigidity with Capricorn energy. And that combined with being cardinal means that you have somebody who is extremely regimented in their way of living, um, and it can border on being extremely meticulous, which can be a good thing, but sometimes these people can take it, like they can go overboard, which is one of the reasons that Capricorn often has the reputation of being quite like a workaholic or a workhorse. They will run themselves to the ground if it means getting the job done well, or if it means extra money as well, because it is an earth sign at the end of the day. And in tarot, earth signs are, they're represented by the pentacles, which is money energy. And so it's all pretty connected, where, you have the element of earth, which is all about being practical, stable, solid, predictable, trustworthy, all of that, right? Along with the modality of being cardinal, which is about initiating things, getting the job done. Now, the thing about this is when it comes to a Capricorn energy, because we have the elements of earth and cardinal together, these people can sometimes be a little bit excessive when it comes to getting the job done. For example, if somebody else cannot do the job, they will take it all upon themselves and make sure that it gets done, which can work very well when it's a deadline or things have to be done within a certain time frame. But sometimes it can mean not really trusting other people to be able to delegate tasks to other people. So that's one of the reasons why Capricorn can often suffer from overloading themselves with work, because sometimes they don't trust other people to do the job. That's another thing about cardinal energy. They want to take it all upon themselves, when really it would really help them to actually delegate things a little bit more. Now let's move on to the next modality, which is fixed, right? So fixed modality with each of the zodiac signs. So we have, in terms of in terms of fire signs, we have Leo, right? Leo is the second fire sign. It's a fixed modality. So here we are combining the energy of fire with the modality of being fixed. And Leo is often called like the bonfire, because there is a steadiness to Leo, which is difficult when it comes to a fire sign, because fire is meant to be flowy, and it's kind of disruptive in a sense, and to always contain it because it's a fixed modality. These people can be very predictable sometimes, just like the fixed signs, right? Like they don't like a lot of change and routine. They're fairly fixed in their decisions, in what they choose in life. But fixed also means they have a very high degree of tenacity. These are the kind of people that are not going to give up no matter what. Once they start on something, they make sure that the job is completed. There's no halfway with this modality. Like all the fixed signs, that's something that they share in common. They don't do anything halfway. They make sure that everything happens exactly as they planned. Now, this can also translate to willpower, very strong willpower. So when we look at Leo, it's ruled by the sun. So the fire energy is kind of magnified here. And then we also have the fixed modality, which is often why in tarot you will find the strength card being represented by Leo. And that's because these people do have tremendous resolve within themselves. Like I said, having a strong willpower definitely has its huge advantages in life, but the flip side can often translate as being very stubborn, very set in their ways, not being able to change with the times. So that is the shadow side that can sometimes manifest, where these people don't want to change. They don't want to look at other people's perspectives, and that can sort of set them in sort of a hamster wheel where they just keep doing the same thing over and over without really being fresh about things or having a new perspective. But that being said and done, they are very steadfast. They're very tenacious. Like I said, they will make sure that whatever they decide, they follow through till the end, right? And so the next sign that we have is the air signs. So we have Aquarius here, which is a fixed air sign. So we are combining the element of air along with the modality of being fixed. And this is kind of a paradox because air signs, air as an element is meant to move, just like water and even fire. Air is meant to move. So when you have it in a fixed modality, there's automatically a bit of a paradox there. And with Aquarius, there is even more of a paradox because Aquarius is like the ancient ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, right? And the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. And these two are very different energies because, when we look at Saturn, it's about rigidity, it's about delay, it's about restrictions, that sort of thing. It's very time based. And then when we look at Uranus, it's the energy of electricity, disruptions happening out of nowhere. It's the energy of being unconventional, almost bordering on eccentric, even weird. And Aquarians are often known to be that way, like their mind works that way. Of course, it depends on where their Mercury and Moon is. But in general, Aquarians have this sort of a dual nature to them, if I may say so. Even though they are not a mutable sign, they do have the duality to them where they are an earth sign, so they're fairly cerebral, just like all the other earth signs. But then they also are they're very much like trailblazers because again they're cardinal, so they will initiate something. And it's a humanitarian sign. It rules the 11th house, which has to do with your friendships, social network, and even financial gains. That's also the 11th house. So Aquarians can be very much about being trailblazers, being unique, being unconventional, and the fixed nature of their sign means that they share the characteristic of being fairly predictable. They don't like to change their mind that often. They are very set in their ways. So even though they have this whole energy about being, it's an air sign, so it's very cerebral. It's again co-ruled by Uranus. So it's again about unconventionality, being different, following your own path. In fact, they don't like following the crowd. They actually prefer doing their own thing. The more different, the better it is for an Aquarian. Not the most emotional sign out there, but that doesn't mean they don't have emotions. That would be weird to say. Everybody has emotions, but they don't really express it that much. And that combined with the cardinal energy can mean that they can have very cold precision. I wouldn't say cold, but I would definitely say cool because there is an aloofness that is associated with Aquarius. So there can be a cool precision with which they get things done. It's almost like being attached to a goal, but being detached at the same time. So they're not really caught up in the emotional intricacies when they're trying to pursue a goal. And that's one of the beauties of it because they really can stay detached through the whole process and make sure that everything is done exactly how they wanted it to, if that makes sense. Let's talk about the next fixed sign, which is water, and we have Scorpio here. Scorpio is again, it's a water sign. Water is meant to move. When you have it in a fixed modality, it's about being ice. It's about being static. And when you have water that is stagnant, there are a whole lot of possibilities that can manifest. Water stagnating can give rise to bacteria, germs, all sorts of things. In its ice state, scorpions are often known to be very cold and icy. Like they are known to ice people out if they don't like somebody or if they are betrayed by somebody. But again, just like all the fixed signs, they do have tenacity, they do have willpower. They're very, very they go for the long game. Like when they are pursuing their goals, there's usually they don't have short-term goals, they have very long-term perspective on things, and they're going to follow it through till the end. Also, the reason being that Scorpio is ruled by both Pluto and Mars. So Mars is again masculine energy. It's going to go and do whatever it wants, it's going to achieve whatever it wants. And also the fact that Scorpio is a sign of extremes. There is no going halfway with Scorpio. It's all or nothing. And so when you combine the fixed modality with water energy, you have a pretty dynamic combination, because just like the other water signs, Scorpio is emotional. But the thing is that they can be quite dangerous, because when you have a water sign like Scorpio, which is able to get into the psyche of people and understand people's hidden intentions, motives, all of that, right? Just like all the other water signs. And you combine it with this fixed nature. Sometimes you can have Scorpios who are very, very set in their ways, to the point of being a little bit dogmatic as well, I will say. Like if they are not careful, their opinions, like they can be the type that says my way or the highway, you know. They may not want to entertain any other point of view. That is the shadow side that can manifest with Scorpio, because it's a fixed sign. Let's look at the next sign, which is an earth sign. It's Taurus, which is also a fixed sign. So we are combining, excuse me, we are combining the element of earth along with the fixed modality. So here as well, we see the qualities of tenacity, resilience, willpower, making sure that they do whatever they've set their mind to. But the thing with Taurus is it's going to be slow and steady. Unlike Scorpio, which is going to go pretty much all the way, and they're pretty much going to do it quite fast, but they're going to be strategic about it. In Taurus, it's going to be more slow and steady, the tortoise and the hare kind of example. Uh, they are very methodical when it comes to their goals. They'll usually set smaller goals for themselves, which lead up to the bigger goal. Taurus likes predictability, they like routine, they like definition and structure. They enjoy repetitive things. It really gives them a high when things are the same, but at the same time, they are progressing towards their goal, if that makes sense. So pretty much like a marathon runner rather than a short distance runner, if that makes sense. Um, but again, just like all the fixed signs, this fixed nature can, and especially because it's also an earth sign, can mean that they can be very rigid sometimes. They can be stuck in a rut sometimes, where the familiarity of comfort, also because Taurus is ruled by Venus, it rules comforts and the pleasures of life. So, they can be stuck in a rut sometimes, where if something feels very comfortable and cozy, they may not want to get out of their comfort zone that easily. Again, that fixed modality just sorry, that fixed modality just adds another layer to this and makes it difficult for them to sort of move out of it or try something new. So let's look at the next modality, which is mutable, right? And so we look at the first sign, which is the fire sign, and we're looking at Sagittarius here. It's a mutable sign. It is often called the wildfire, um, because we are combining the energy, the element of fire, along with the mutable nature, which is very adaptable, flexible, going with the flow. And so that's why it's often called the wildfire, because there is no containing this energy. It's also ruled by Jupiter. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is about magnifying and expanding whatever it touches, So Sagittarians often have this energy of being excessive sometimes, so they need to be careful about whatever it is that they're pursuing, whether that's their goals, whether that's their food. It's very Jupiterian. It's all about being larger than life. Everything has to be king size. You know, it's very, it magnifies whatever it's trying to aspect. So here you have the energy of the fire element, which is again about resilience, which is about willpower, because fire signs are very forward thinking signs. They don't like to sit around and dwell on the past. And then you combine that with the mutable modality, which is about being flexible, adaptable, being able to see other people's perspectives, right? So you have a sign that is uh, quite easy to get along with because they are able to see all sides of the equation. They are not the kind of people to judge other people. They actually like to see other people's perspectives. In fact, because it rules the ninth house as well, which is about long distance travel, they do appreciate people from other cultures. They do like to have their outlook being broadened or learn something new. But the difference is that, unlike their sister sign Gemini, Sagittarians like to learn about life through experiences, not through like academic knowledge or through textbooks. They like to do it through real life experiences. And so you have somebody who's ready to put themselves out there. And that's one of the things about Sagittarius. They're not afraid to take risks that much. They are also very adaptable with change. So unlike the fixed signs, which can often have trouble with change, like they don't like too much of a change of pace when it comes to their routine. The mutable signs are quite okay with that. So if if they were about a certain routine up until now, they would not have a problem switching it up tomorrow or changing their routine. Of course, it's going to depend on the rest of their chart, but Sagittarius in general, they're quite okay with change. They actually like change because they feel like their outlook broadens, and they learn something new when they change. So that's a little bit about the mutable fire sign. Now let's talk about the next mutable sign, which is the air sign. So Gemini, yeah, we're talking about Gemini here, which is the sister sign of Sagittarius. So Geminis, here we have a duality to Gemini. All the mutable signs have a dual side to them, but then Gemini has it more because its symbol is the twins, and it's also ruled by Mercury, which rules the mind. So here you have somebody who's very cerebral, who's very in their head a lot, just like all the other air signs. But then you also combine that with the mutable modality, which is about flexibility, adaptability, being able to see other people's perspectives. Now, the flip side can be they can be a little bit wishy-washy, they can be quite flaky because one minute or one day their mind says something, the next day their mind says something else. So it's like constantly there's a tug of war happening in their mind between different perspectives. Their nervous system can be impacted a lot because, like I said, they are very much in their head most of the time. They don't really think, um, they're not really that grounded. So that's something that they probably need to watch out for. Now, let's talk about the next sign, which is the earth sign, Virgo, which is an earth sign and it's also mutable in nature. So this is interesting because being an earth sign, you would expect them to be very predictable, very solid, which they are. They're practical, just like all the other earth signs. But because they have that mutable energy to them, they are quite changeable in nature, in the sense that they are more ready to adapt to change. They're more flexible in their point of view. They're not so rigid like the fixed signs. And that's an advantage because, again, just like Gemini, Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So they are also fairly cerebral, which is different from a lot of the earth signs. Because, again, Virgo, like Gemini, can be in their head a lot. They can be very self-critical and critical of other people. They can have tendencies of OCD, perfectionism, all of those things. But again, because they're mutable, that kind of saves the day for them because they're able to be easily adaptable, flexible, and changing with the times. Now let's look at the next sign, which is Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. So Pisces, here we have water. This is true water because water is meant to be flowing. And then you also add the additional layer of being a mutable modality. So this is true water. It's always flowing. It's always fresh. It's never stagnant. So Pisces people, they can be a little bit dangerous sometimes because they have the ability to be extremely psychic, see through other people, be other people, because they are very chameleon like. And again, you have the mutability aspect, which is like they can be very, very adaptable. So you really don't know what you're getting. One day you get a certain person, the next day you get a totally different person. So that's Pisces. So you have to be careful about Pisces because it's the last sign of the zodiac. They can be anybody that they want to be, which can be good, but it can also be a little bit scary sometimes if you really think about it. So that's what I have for you when we combine all of the modalities and the signs together. I hope you like this video. If you liked it, do give it a thumbs up. Drop in a comment if it resonated. And if you'd like to book a reading, you can drop me a message on Facebook or email, and I'll get back to you soon. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.